Hi, this is Jadu from Property Frameworks Buyers Agency, and today I thought I'll use this session to talk about a recent question that was brought up to me by one of my clients. So this particular client wanted to buy investment property in Melbourne, specifically in the suburb of Clyde. So Clyde is in Casey City Council, which is in the southwest of Melbourne, and it's roughly around 50 kilometers from Melbourne's CBD. Now, to talk more about this suburb, this is kind of a developing suburb where you have new house and land packages coming in, you have lots of new homes, and he wanted to buy a home with 4 beds, 2 baths with a budget of 600k. And he asked my opinion on this. I advised him against this and told him that he could use his 600k elsewhere. I told him that it would be better if he used that 600k and buy property in an established suburb in an established location. The area I recommended was Newcombe, which is in Geelong City, or about 5 kilometers from Geelong City. And I thought it would be interesting to see why an established suburb, when in this case Newcombe, will outperform a suburb like Clyde. And I wanted to go through some numbers to illustrate this point. So let's get into it. Okay, so now we have Clyde here and we have Newcombe here. Okay, so we know Clyde is 50 kilometers from Melbourne, Newcombe is only 5 kilometers from Geelong CBD. Clyde is a developing suburb, Newcombe is an established suburb. Okay, so property value is 600k. Okay, and I wanted to look at the land component. How much of this value is coming from the land? The land value in this area for this size block of land is around 300k. So this is about a 300 meter squared block of land. And the property in Newcombe is about 550 meters squared. Okay, so the land value is 300k here. The cost of build is also 300k. So recently we've had an increase in the cost of building. It's increased by about 20 to 30% because materials have become more expensive, trades have become more expensive. So that's why the cost of build is significantly higher here. So what is the land to asset ratio in this case, the value of the land? Okay, that's 50%, and building value is 50%. Okay, now let's come to Newcombe. The value of the property is 600k. The land value here is 520k. So the reason for this is that, as I mentioned before, this is an established property in an established location. The house itself is about 30 years old, so the house has depreciated considerably, and therefore most of the value of the property is in the land. So we have 520k in the land, and the building value is about 80k. So land to asset ratio is around 85% in this case, 520 by 600, 85%. Building value is 15%. Okay, so let's look at the land to asset ratios for both these properties, 50% here and 85% here. Now we know that land increases in value and buildings decrease in value. So the land component here is 85%. The land component here is only 50%. So which do you think would appreciate faster? Is it this property or this property? So obviously it's going to be this property because of its higher land to asset ratio. Okay, so that's point number one. You have a higher land to asset ratio here, and over a longer period of time you would have better appreciation in this property. Now let's go to point number two, adding value. Okay, now this property, we already have 50% of its value in the building, so it has reached its maximum potential. You can't add any more value to this building. In this particular property, we only have 15% in the value of its building, so which means that you can further add value to this. You could renovate it. You could do a budget renovation. You could spend about 20K and then have an equity uplift about 40 to 50K. So therefore you're getting an instant equity uplift of about 50K by using that strategy, which won't be possible with this property. And in today's market, when things are a bit slow, it's very hard to get that equity from the market. So you would need to force that equity, and only when you use strategies like this that you can get that equity. So that's point number two, adding value. Now let's move on to point number three. Now, as I said before, Clyde has a lot of houses coming in over the next 2 to 3 years. About 200 to 300 houses are going to be built. In Newcomb, there are no more houses going to be built. So when you have that surplus of houses coming in, that increases supply, and therefore that reduces the price pressure. You don't have that situation in Newcomb. There is a shortage of houses here, and therefore there would always be price pressure on houses. So that's point number three, price pressure. So finally, let's go to the other topic of depreciation. So with new buildings, depreciation can be claimed, and depreciation could be claimed as a tax reduction. So most people use that as a tax reduction methodology. So this Clyde property, you could claim depreciation every year, and that's a good thing. However, there's something that I also want to further talk about. Let's get into it. So let's say with the Clyde property, you can claim depreciation of about 15,000 every year. And if you, let's say you're on the tax rate of about 37%, you get about $5,000 back every year. So that's a good thing. But something that most people don't know is that the depreciation that you claim has to be paid back when you sell the property. So let's say over 5 years, you claim depreciation of 75,000. Nearly half of it has to be given back when you do the capital gains tax calculation. So even though you're getting a lot of money here, you'll have to lose some money when you're selling the property. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly talk to you about the points that you would need to consider and why an established suburb, in this case Newcomb, which is in the city of Geelong, and Geelong, even though it's a regional center, it's really growing fast, and I would prefer buying an investment established property in Newcomb over buying a property in Clyde. So I hope this was useful to you, and if you need any help with investing in property, please feel free to reach out to me at jadoo@propertyframeworksbuyersagency.com.au or contact me directly at 0410 445 894. Thank you.